Right, well, hello people. This is my go at Democracy 4, which is just came out in alpha. I love Democracy 3, and I hope 4 is going to be better. Let's just start a new game. Because it's an alpha, this is only the United Kingdom, but hey, got a few statistics here. 65 million people, about that size, ethnicities this, religions this, exports blah blah blah. We're just going to play. We're going to leave all this exactly as the default suggests, which is recommended. Let's just jump into it. Right, so health's okay, GDP's okay, education's okay. Bit of crime, not too bad to be honest. We won a majority by 10%. Who cares? Right, so if you've played 3, this looks familiar. If you haven't, it might look a bit weird. In the middle, this is how much kind of political power we have. Currently we've got 21, so we can do kind of 21 pips worth of policy changes or implementations. So what we've got is each of these kind of blue dots is something that is a statistic. So you've got GDP, you've got technology, you've got productivity. Down here on the bottom left, you've got food price, you've got education, you've got health. Top right, you've got kind of crime and violent crime, corruption. Top left, you've got kind of car usage and infrastructure, oil supplies. Top right, you've got political kind of foreign relations and immigration, racial tensions, international trade. Far right, it's welfare as it says. So pensions, how much people smoke, how democratic you are, kind of how much people, kind of like how much poverty and inequality. And most importantly, the bottom right where GDP and all that kind of stuff. So that's what those blue dots are. The red dots are the things that we need to get rid of. So these are massively negative modifiers on your country. So you've got violent crime, organised crime up here, as well as we've got quite a bit of alcohol abuse. On the bottom left, there's respiratory disease, obesity, and hospital overcrowding. And in the bottom right, we've got uncompetitive economy, which basically just damages our GDP because others are doing the same thing we're doing for cheaper, and therefore no one's buying from us. The little white dots are things that we can change. They are policies and implementations. So, as example, this is kind of how much we spend towards the arts, and we can go nothing, or just a puppet show at the local place, or we can go an entire opera house like Sydney. We could go, a fucking massive police force, or we could, do that. How many roads are we building? What's our size of our military? State pensions. Do we do recycling, or are we more favourative towards the employer or the unions? Are we communist? Are we, fascist? And taxes. Good old income tax, petrol tax, tobacco tax, good fun. So that's what we can do. In the middle here, these are our kind of governors. So the green of the governors shows that they're supportive of our policies, they like us, and the more they like us, the more pips we get. So we want to keep them high. The orange, they don't care so much, they're kind of on the fence. Red means that they are angry and they might quit if we piss them off too much. Now, flashing red dots, those are super serious. If you have more than one flashing red dot, you might have to declare emergency powers to fix it. That's something we very much don't want to do. That's almost all of the dots, but there's one more type of dot, which is the bright green dots that we can't see. These are dots where there's something so good, so efficient in our nation that we have a competitive advantage against the whole world in this. It could be a productivity advantage. For the same amount of time towards something, we get twice as much done, or a technological advancement. We're ahead in all these fields, or we've got such a good environment, we take such good care that we can predict the outcome of hurricanes because we look after it, or we have such high equality in our nation between men and women and people of different colours and ethnicities and such, that we are an egalitarian society and we all care for each other. And these will have massive positive impacts on our nations. Right, as a start off, I'm going to focus towards environmentalism, so the health of our nation, our environment. I'm going to focus towards kind of the health of the people, which I'm going to do first, and finally I'm going to kind of do the health of our society relative to the democratic values, equality, and kind of racial tension. To start off, we need to focus on the most damning stuff. This is the obesity issue. So we need to get rid of that ASAP. So what we're going to do, we're going to start off by going to the Food Standards Agency, doubling their kind of how much we pay them. Food Standards Agency is kind of how the company that, well, not the company, the government agency that says what you can and can't buy, can't import. An example of this would be in New Zealand, you can't buy the McRib from McDonald's because it has chemicals used in the meat that we consider toxic, whereas Americans apparently don't have that. They would stop that kind of stuff. This will piss farmers off because they can't sell what they'd like, dodgy meat, but health goes up, obesity goes down. It does increase food price, but we'll fix that later, and it does kind of, more people will eat healthier foods. Plant-based food is kind of healthy diet. So we'll implement that. Some other things, let's hover over. So you can hover over any of the dots. So we can hover over GDP and go, the green things coming into it are boosting the GDP, while the red coming out are kind of negative effects, or red going in, sorry, are bad side. So more crime on the left there is making our GDP worse. Whereas good GDP boosts our stability and also boosts our obesity, because we have more money, therefore we are more obese because we buy more junk food. So we're going to gradually try and get rid of that. And it's the same. So you can hover over all of these and basically go, what do bus lanes do? Well, they add more buses. What do more buses do? Well, that means there's less cars and less rail. And it means there's less oil, which is great. And, you know, the poor ride buses, apparently. It's all linked. So what we can do is we can hover over the obesity and go, what is going to do? So, because we've got good GDP and food prices are cheap and everyone drives a car, we have quite a lot of obesity. So we need to fix this. So we're going to go bicycle subsidies. You can now buy a bike for dirt cheap. Fantastic. What's more, we're going to do a massive advertising campaign, nearly $100 million, and we're going to make everyone ride their bike with massive campaigns and basically say, skip the line, bike past. Those two, you can see the grey dotted lines coming into the obesity and shrinking it. That will eventually cause this to dip down, as you can see these three policies we've implemented, and cause it to go away. The reason that the line is grey instead of green or orange is because it takes time to implement a policy. So currently it's 0% implementation because we just signed it. We signed the law. And it's going to take a couple of ticks before it gets done. What's more, there are certain policies that voters like. So let's look at this. So let's find, so gated communities. So only 12% of the voters in the nation want gated communities. These are communities where the rich hole up away from the poor. Whereas 70% of the voters quite like the idea of body cameras on police to protect themselves and others. So if you pass a ton of policies that people like clean fuel subsidies, your popularity will go up. And currently we have 80% of the vote because we're amazing, of course. Right, so let's get rid of the obesity ASAP with everything we can. So we're going to go school sports. You have to do school sports and we'll pay for it. Let's go healthy eating campaign. Eat healthy foods, they're good for you. 1 apple a day keeps the doctor away. Things like that. What else? I'm gonna do free eye tests. It doesn't get rid of obesity, but it does boost health. And health means that we kind of don't have as much need for healthcare, which is, I believe this. Yeah, healthcare demand, and the more healthcare demand affects obesity, and so basically, it's like how many people are going to the hospital. If you can reduce that, more time can be spent helping the obese people, which is great. We've only got one little dot left, and that's not good. We've used up all of our ticker. So what we're going to do is, can we pass anything dirt cheap? No. So we're just going to continue. Right, so this is the quarterly report, basically. But use this little up arrow, health is going up, because we've implemented a ton of health policies. The rest haven't changed. We currently have a budget deficit. We're going to fix that this term. And they want to know about a corporate manslaughter. So can you charge companies for killing people? Yes, that sounds like a fairly good thing. They shouldn't be allowed to kill willy-nilly. In real-world society, I believe corporations are considered individuals, humans, so they can be charged with crimes. So we're going to pass this law that's going to piss people off but also make others happy. So it should make the liberals happy. It should piss the capitalists off. Capitalists hate us, liberals like us, trade unions like us. Fantastic. We've kind of picked these kind of top guys here as our picks. We're going to go with them. What we're going to do now is we have a deficit. We've got debt. We've got to pay the debt. What's worse, we've got to pay the interest rate, or the expenditure. We've got to pay the interest on the debt, which should be here. So this is the debt interest. We're paying $10 billion per tick. We don't want that. We want to get into the positive, and that's increasing. So I'm going to max out the payroll tax, and this is pretty dodgy, but I like it. So it's basically a tax upon the salaries of the workers. It's hard to dodge, but it does disincentivize employment and incentivize industrial automation, which is bad. But is it though? I'm going to implement it. If I hover over it, that incentivizes industrial automation. Industrial automation boosts our technology and our productivity. Our technology boosts our internet speed and also productivity. What does productivity boost? Productivity boosts GDP. What does internet speed boost? Oh, it makes people, but basically that tax increases our GDP as well as giving us money. Next time you will see that we actually have a shit ton of money. Right, now let's just have a look through. So school meals, this directly affects obesity, health goes up, fantastic. What else? Health food subsidies, fantastic. Basically it's cheaper to buy apples than it is to buy more bars. Fantastic. We've used all of our policies. Let's go through. Poverty is going down. That's good because they don't have to pay for their school meals or eyes or kind of healthcare. Fantastic. Poverty's going down. Health is going up. All's good in the world. And look, we had a freaking deficit of 10 billion. Now we've got a surplus of 10 billion. Huh. Right, so we've got a pop-up now. Extradite terror suspect. If we send him back, he'll be tortured, he'll probably be killed. Let's keep him here. We're friendly. The liberals like us. The patriots hate us. That's not so bad. It's actually the same debate that's happening in New Zealand at this moment. The Christchurch terror bomber who shot up that mosque in Christchurch here, he's being considered by the government to be deported back to Australia, and it's a bit of a hot topic issue. But let's try to avoid that stuff. I want to start working on some of this other stuff. So let's have a look. Alcohol abuse, quite bad. What we're going to do is, the best way to get rid of people drinking too much is to make it too expensive. So it's going to, let's add a 75% tax on all alcohol. That makes us $3 billion. I like that. That's great. Money. And we've got a surplus. What can we spend the surplus on? How about another $10 billion towards the state health? Fantastic. Look, we're now getting 92% of the vote. In this news headlights, young, brilliant students will be denied the chance to study at them. Basically, the news is basically going, people are angry, you should do this. University grants. I'm not going to, because they have 96% of the vote. I don't care. Yes, basically. Right, is there anything else? Yeah, let's do this. Right, this one's, let's get the health up some more. Basically, organ donations, they're opt-in, opt-out. In New Zealand, it's when you get your license. We're going to basically say, if you die, you have to give your organs. It's going to be super controversial, but boy, is the health going to go up, and the religious people hate us. Don't care. Health should be, every policy in here is boosting the health. Is there anything that we can adjust that'll further boost health? Yes, there is. Right, well, let's do that. Family planning. This is sex education. This is condoms. This is kind of healthy sexual relationships and such. This boosts gender equality. This is boosts health, education. Pisses off some people, but we're siding with the liberals. It boosts health, which is fantastic. What's more, what was the other one? I forget. Where was it? Social care. Speed cameras. That's what I wanted. Speed cameras makes money. Basically, you're fining people for speeding. We're going to increase this. It's going to piss some people off. Makes us money. Boosts health. There's nothing wrong with it. And we're going to max it out. Factory farming. We are going to go tougher factory farm standards. It affects the GDP, but the environmentalists like it, and we're siding with them. Let's go back to speed cameras. Right. If I hover over obesity, you can now see that the dotted lines coming from cycling campaigns are basically red. It's because they are now 100% implemented, as we said, which is good. Right, so let's look at everything. Alcohol abuse is dropping, and we're going to do that further by doing community policing. Community policing is basically the community can do some kind of community watch members, and the police talk, and there's kind of cross communication. It's really good. It's good because it involves the local community with their own police. It doesn't keep them as two separate blocks, which is kind of a hot topic issue. What's more, it limits alcohol abuse because the community helps the community, which is good. Because of that, hospital overcrowding is going down. Respiratory disease is not going down. We're going to start working towards that. So what we're going to start working towards now is environmentalism. Our GDP is the same. We need to help the environment help itself. So we're going to start doing that. So let's find the environment bubble. This is it. And we're going to go recycling. You can get recycling from your doorstep regardless. Everyone knows what recycling. The word is reduce, the word is reuse, and then it is recycle in that order. You must reduce what you are using, you must reuse what you cannot, and then you must recycle what you can't reuse, which we've done. We're also going to set massive fines for industrial pollution. Now, this does reduce our GDP, so what we're going to do to counteract that is we're going to put some helicopter money in. Helicopter money is basically the government printing money, which is bad because you can see inflation goes up. But if we just bring this back just about here, no inflation at all, counteracts the GDP loss that we got from the fines, and we can print money as we need it. Fantastic. What else can be done for the environment? Clean energy subsidies. Fantastic. We'll max that out. The environment goes up. Basically, any businesses and kind of households that want to do solar and wind and geothermal and kind of hydro, it kind of incentivizes those energy industries as opposed to the standard fuel industry. And because we have asthma, we're going to go fuel efficiency standard. So basically, we do have less sulfur in our fuel, less lead if there is any lead, just better quality that burns better, less stuff comes out of the catalytic converter. Because it's dirt cheap, but the environment loves it. CO2 emissions goes down, which is fantastic. Because where is it? Where did I hang on? Respiratory disease comes from CO2. CO2 emissions. Yeah. So this basically helps oil demand. It's just all good. Right. We've got a bit of a deficit, but alcohol abuse is gone. Because we have a deficit, we're going to go and we are going to increase the amount that tobacco tax has, and plastic bags, because that's going to help the environment. So plastic bags are fucking expensive, and so are cigarettes. Right, we can appoint our person to the UN. It's usually either someone who helps people or someone who's patriotic. Because we're not going patriotic, we're going to go with the understanding, compromising person, which, far enough, foreign relations goes up because they're understanding. Let's keep bringing up the cigarette tax. We've got a $10 billion surplus all of a sudden. Funny that. And let's keep going. One more tick. Fracking. Fracking basically is really bad for the environment. It permanently poisons it. So we're going to ban fracking. And let's maximize the cigarette. So basically what we've done is we've got rid of the alcohol abuse, and we're making 1.3 billion from that. This line is drastically coming down with obesity, hospital overcrowding is drastically coming down, and respiratory disease is starting to come down because we've only just started working on the environment. And we will do some more. So smart meter projects, programs. Right. That's my alarm. Right, so I'll implement this, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.